Hey, welcome back to YT Finance, and this is the channel where I went to business school so you didn't need to, and today we are talking about SoFi Technologies SOFI stock. So if you didn't know, SoFi Invest is adding more trading hours to empower their members across their platforms so people can trade on their own terms. So we will be diving into that to discuss what that means for potential traders using their brokerage platform. We're also going to go over the latest price targets among analysts to determine if this company is a good buying opportunity, and how some analysts and financial reporters actually think that SoFi Technologies is a safe stock to buy. So I will be adding my thoughts on that particular thesis. Then lastly, we're going to talk about how investors' fears about the SoFi stock and SoFi Technologies as a whole pertaining to their business is misplaced and somewhat blown out of proportion. So this is going to be a very bullish, positive video. However, I still am going to provide some constructive criticism for investors as well as this company. So for more videos on SoFi Technologies, remember to go and destroy that like button right now. Comment your thoughts down below about the SOFI stock and your personal price target for it. Subscribe if you are new, and without further ado, let's jump right into today's stories. I also want to mention that Webull is having a fantastic deal right now where you can buy and sell stocks as well as cryptocurrencies. They're going to be giving you 6 free stocks, and to get these 6 free stocks, all you have to do is sign up for Webull, invest $100 into any stock of your choosing. I personally would invest into ticker symbol VOO, which is an ETF that tracks the S&P 500. It's a very safe investment, and this will allow you to gain free money in the form of 6 free stocks. Also, if you do this before June 9th, you're going to be entered in to win $12,000. So not only are you getting free money in the form of free stocks, but you're also going to be entered in to win $12,000. But with that being said, let's talk about SoFi Technologies. And if you didn't know, SoFi Technologies is a digital personal finance company that offers an all-in-one inclusive app that enables their customers to gain access to financial products and or financial services. And recently they have announced that their SoFi Invest segment is rolling out extended trading hours over the coming weeks. So normal trading hours are between 9:30 when market opens and 4 p.m. when market closes. However, with these new extended hours, it's going to start at 9 a.m. instead of 9:30, and it's going to last until 8 p.m. at night instead of 4 p.m. So this is literally going to add around 4.5 more hours to the trading day. And to me, this is overall very bullish and positive. The CEO of SoFi even had this to say about it, and I quote, he says, "Our members' lives don't operate 9 to 5, and we have certainly learned that over the last 2 years, by extending our trading hours, we are enabling our members to execute their investing ideas in a larger window and more when it suits their needs wherever they are. We know that making everything from saving to investing easier is key to helping our members get their money right. For years, the rigid traditions of the finance industry have left many people behind because it didn't work for them. This is the latest in a series of traditions we have sought to break to ensure everyone has access to investing on their terms." So SoFi Technology members are going to be able to take advantage of this, and the reason why this is a big deal is that now if you're working a 9 to 5 job and you're not allowed to be on your phone, or you just don't have the time to allocate toward your investments during the day, these extended trading hours are going to be extremely beneficial for you, allowing you to buy and sell stocks even after 4 p.m. And most people get off of work around 5 p.m. if you're over here in the States. This is going to allow investors to capitalize on news announcements, catalysts, and earnings reports and releases that take place after market close. So overall, this is going to be very, very good, especially if you're using SoFi Technologies' brokerage platform. And although members will only be able to place a limited amount of orders, these extended trading hours are going to give investors way more time to not only think through their investments, but capitalize on short-term catalysts. So overall, I would say this is absolutely fantastic news. However, I do want to say that if you are using SoFi Technologies' website, this update is only going to be relevant for their app in the next couple of weeks, and then it's going to be implemented later on their website over the next few months. So make sure to get the app if you haven't already, or just simply use a brokerage that already enables extended trading hours. Now, with that really good news, this somewhat should create a positive catalyst, so hopefully we can see some increase in their overall stock price. The current stock price trades for around $7.20, and the low-end analyst price target for the next 12 months is $7. So in an ideal world or ideal scenario, we would want the current stock price to drop below the low-end analyst price target, which gives us a buffer of safety. However, the average analyst price target is $11 for the next 12 months, which means that the current stock price is somewhat undervalued, and the most bullish price target for the next year goes as high as $22, which is why analysts are in somewhat of an agreement of this stock being a good buying opportunity while the stock price is trading at around or below $8. Now let's move on to why the next author believes that SoFi Technologies is actually a safe stock play. And I personally, even though I am bullish on SoFi Technologies, I'm going to push back on this author's thesis, because I really don't think he's firing on all four cylinders, if you know what I'm talking about. So SoFi is a good growth company, but to call this a safe growth company is not ideal. When I think of safe, I think of ETFs or blue chip stocks. I do not think of single growth stocks that are extremely volatile. So I actually disagree with this other bull when it comes to SoFi Technologies being a quote-unquote safe investment or a low-risk investment. Now, he does rightfully point out that if you can find SoFi Technologies in an ETF, such as the BUZZ, ticker name BUZZ ETF, this is going to be a much safer alternative way to buy SoFi Technologies while also being exposed to other companies, because an ETF is basically just a basket of various stocks, and if you invest into BUZZ, your investment is going to be spread out into those other companies and those other stocks, so it's not like you're just buying SoFi. But for me personally, I think what would be much better is not even buying the BUZZ ETF, but rather buying SoFi Technologies as a single stock and then buying another ETF that tracks momentum, such as the MTUM ETF, which is one of my favorite ETFs. SoFi Technologies stock is a risky growth stock in my personal opinion, which is why I do not allocate more than 5% of an allocation or an initial investment into single risky growth companies, or just companies in general. This would mean that if my portfolio is worth $100,000, I am not going to allocate more than $5,000 by putting it into SoFi Technologies. I'm not going to spend over $5,000. I'm only going to allocate $5,000 to SoFi, and then I'm just going to let it run for the long term. Now, what I like to do actually is I would personally only invest 2% into the company, so that's $2,000, and then I'm going to use the remaining 3% to get to 5% to dollar cost average my average price down for SoFi Technologies. So after I invest the 2% initially worth the $2,000, I'm going to use the remaining $3,000 to dollar cost average down my average cost. And this is going to come in handy because if I bought SoFi Technologies at around $12 and I allocated $2,000 for that investment, and then the stock dropped to around $7, I can then use the remaining 3% to lower my average cost closer to $7 and down from $12, while not overexposing myself more than 5% of my total portfolio allocation. Hopefully I explained that in a way that you all understood what I said, and that's the strategy that I normally do. So I personally would not invest into the BUZZ ETF. I would rather buy SoFi Technologies as a single growth stock and then buy an ETF such as MTUM, which has drastically outperformed the BUZZ ETF. I also want to say that the student loan moratorium being extended really isn't negatively affecting SoFi Technologies that much, and I'm going to talk more about that in our next article. I also want to say that this author is very ecstatic about the BIDS or BIDS ETF. Now, instead of the BIDS ETF, I actually like the XLF ETF and the FINX ETF way better than the BIDS ETF. Now, ETFs are very, very good, but honestly, I not only disagree with this author by him saying that SoFi Technologies is a safe stock to buy, I adamantly disagree with that. It's a very volatile growth stock, and the future is somewhat uncertain. However, with that being said, I still personally like SoFi Technologies, and I personally have money invested into it. I also disagree with the ETFs that he has chosen. I do not think BUZZ is a very good ETF. MTUM, in my opinion, far outperforms the BUZZ ETF. Likewise, the BIDS or the BIDS ETF has no comparison to other ETFs that are similar, such as XLF and FINX. So these are the ETFs that I personally would buy alongside the SOFI stock price because it's going to lower your overall risk to this company. Now, if we drop further down in the article, he says that the bottom line is that he still believes in SoFi Technologies, and I agree with him. I'm on board with him. I also still like SoFi Technologies, especially as the stock is falling. It just makes it a better buying opportunity. I also agree with him that ultimately the shares for the SOFI stock are going to trade above the single digits. So their price targets are in the double-digit price targets, and I 100% agree that this company is clearly worth over $10 per share. I also agree with this author in the sense that he believes that SoFi Technologies is going to become a leader in the financial services industry, and again, I agree with him on that point as well. So he's basically advocating that diversifying your portfolio in times of market uncertainty is going to not only make your portfolio less volatile and it's going to prevent you from losing a lot of money, but it's also just overall good risk management, and I 100% agree. And a great way to diversify very safely while maintaining very aggressive growth is by investing into high-powered ETFs like the ones I pointed out earlier in this video. Now, for our last article, I want to talk about how the fears regarding SoFi Technologies by investors are completely misplaced. And what I mean by that is, although the stock market no longer views technology and growth stocks as very good, and investors are actually selling technology and growth stocks and putting their money into the bond market, they're keeping it in cash, or they are buying blue chip stocks, I actually find this the best time to buy growth companies because they are trading at such a discount. I also want to point out that the business model for SoFi Technologies is very strong, and my investment thesis is overall very bullish on the stock, just like this author. Now, I recently did a video where the Biden administration is looking to approve a 10,000 student loan forgiveness plan, and the CEO of SoFi Technologies is actually all for this. Now, the reason this is odd is that SoFi Technologies actually started as a student loan refinancing company, and that is where they used to get the majority of their revenue. However, the CEO of SoFi Technologies is actually all for this, and he even says, once there actually is forgiveness, there's nothing to wait for anymore. You now know what the plan is, and you have to make a decision. Well, if you had $70,000 in loans, which is our target market, and you get $10,000 in forgiveness, you still have to refinance $60,000. But the number of people that will be refinancing will be magnitudes greater than it was in the past, because there's really no reason to wait any longer, especially with rates going up. So what he's saying is that by the Biden administration stopping the student loan moratorium, giving a $10,000 forgiveness for people, this is actually going to be good for SoFi Technologies, because now with around $60,000 worth of debt, these people are going to jump immediately on board to refinance their loans with companies like SoFi Technologies, because waiting would be very, very unwise because interest rates are going up. So the sooner that you refinance, the better. So this is actually going to push people towards SoFi Technologies to refinance their student loans. Because the student loan moratorium, which prevents interest from accruing on federal student loans, and it also says that people don't need to pay on their student loans during this time, this is actually building demand, and all of this pent-up demand will eventually have to break free once the student loan moratorium ends, or when this $10,000 forgiveness plan actually takes place, if it takes place. So once these restrictions are lifted, this is going to create a lot of business for SoFi Technologies, and that's something that investors just aren't thinking of. They have such a short-term mindset that they're not looking at the long-term mindset of this company as not only a growth company, but also because this pent-up demand is bound to burst, and when it does, SoFi Technologies is going to be a huge winner in the market. Also, to take advantage of such a low stock price for the SOFI stock is absolutely paramount, because right now it's trading at around $7.20, and its market cap is relatively low at around $7 billion, which is not too bad for a growth company, because they are guided to bring in revenues of around $1.5 billion for 2022, which would represent a 50% growth rate on the year. So not only is their PS, or price to sales ratio, very good, it also shows that they are scaling very rapidly by 50%. Anything above 30% for a growth company is extremely aggressive and absolutely phenomenal in my personal opinion. And we have to remember, this is while student loans are still frozen due to the student loan moratorium. This is without the floodgates bursting open happen where they are going to receive a lot of customers wanting to refinance their student loans once the student loan moratorium ends, or when the forgiveness program is enacted, if it's enacted. So that would just add to the bullish thesis of this overall company. Analysts right now project and forecast revenues for their 2023 year, which are set to reach around $2.14 billion, which would be absolutely phenomenal. SoFi Technologies actually said that the student loan moratorium hasn't hit them that hard because they only lost around $100 million or less. And even if the student loan moratorium lasts for the entire year, because currently it's set to dissolve on August 31st, now I personally think it's going to be extended for the entire year of 2022 and then end in the beginning of 2023, and SoFi Technologies management also believes that. So even if it's extended again, they're only going to lose around $150 million, which is not a very big hit considering that they're set to bring in around $2.14 billion in the year of 2023 and $1.5 billion in the year of 2022. So overall, this is absolutely really good news, and the market is clearly overreacting. The company is not losing, and it's not like SoFi Technologies isn't going to be able to make up for this revenue, because once the floodgates open up and people start to refinance their student loans, this is going to bring in ample business for the overall company, and investors just aren't aware of this. Now, I do want to say that SoFi Technologies is not a profitable company, but they are projected to become profitable at the end of 2024. I also want to make it clear that the SOFI stock price is not going to continuously increase from $7. The stock could most certainly fall as low as $5 and even below that in the short term, but I am betting in the next 5 to 10 years the stock is going to be worth way more than $7 per share. So if you think in the next 5 to 10 years the company could be $14 or more, that is going to be an absolute fantastic buying opportunity right now based off of current prices. Also, they have a strong business model, great fundamentals and financials, and strong leadership. Just like we saw the SOFI stock price at one point trading above $20 per share based on hype, now the stock is trading at around $7 per share based on investors' fears. So this is actually a good time to buy when other people are fearful pertaining to this particular company, but I also want to add that I personally am not allocating more than a 5% portfolio allocation for this particular growth company because I do think it is a risky growth stock. I always want to make sure this is going to align with your personal investment style, your goals, your strategies, and always make sure to do your own research. But I would love to hear your thoughts down below. Remember to go and smash that like button right now for more videos like this one. Subscribe if you are new, and I will see you in the next YT video.